Hey, everybody. This is Reverend Bill, and today is Thursday, August 28th. And we have just a whole bunch of things going on today. So, why don't we just hop in and get going? Let me bring up my little cheat sheet here. Let's see. Where are you? I got to tell you that you can always tell when Labor Day is coming because it's almost like the good Lord hits a light switch and it immediately drops from like 90 to about maybe 80 degrees or so. Anyway, we're going to start with my favorite state in the whole world. And when I say favorite, I mean the armpit of the world, Minnesota. This place, if I could, no, I don't want to say anything too bad. I am a minister after all. This place is a bane of my existence. It is, among other things, the headquarters of witchcraft. I'm sure those who followed me know this very well. It is the headquarters of witchcraft. Not many people know that, maybe, but it is. Little background story for those of you who may not know. I've been battling evil, demons, and witchcraft very, very violently, especially violently the last few years, and I've just about wiped them out, I believe, spiritually. If not physically, I really don't know their physical capabilities right now, but spiritually, the Holy Spirit came with me just when I was on the verge, I think, of losing, and the Holy Spirit came onto me, very similar to the apostles, just when I think I was on the verge of losing, and he wiped the floor with them, and it was very, very decisive, and that's pretty much the end of them. So yeah, it's a very beautiful story, and I never get tired of talking about it. But I'm not going to bore you again with the details. But the Holy Spirit is everything. The Holy Ghost, I like to call him, is everything that he's cracked up to be, and he put a waste to them, and they're actually in Minnesota. They were a strong govern. I don't know what's left of them now. But he put a wasteland to them. Anyway, so I've got a history of them, and I certainly know Minnesota. That's where they're from. And they started, I'm pretty sure the leader was drafted by them, came from Brockton, and I believe they were recruited from them by a recruiter that came to schools, and I think they recruited them in high school. No definite proof of this. I was only about maybe 8 years old at the time, but I do remember that someone came to Brockton and did a talk at the high school, and recruited some of them to go to Minnesota. We were sure why they would suddenly just up and decide to go to college in Minnesota, but looking back now, I'm pretty sure it was recruitment for witches, and they went there, and that's pretty much all we saw of them. Again, they just pretty much stayed there, and next thing I know, they were in a coven. Many years later, I discovered that they had joined a coven there. And anyway, getting back to what I was saying is, so Minnesota is known for two things: witchcraft, and also being a center for transgenders, and also obviously the Congresswoman Omar. For being a strong influence with the Somalis, which is Muslim. So those are the three things they're pretty much known for. And of course, we know how much the Muslims love Christians, and I say that in very sarcastic. We're going to visit that again. Trust me on that one. So Minnesota has always been a very antagonistic place for, let's be honest, Christianity and goodness. It's always been a very evil place, to put it mildly. And I think it's about time we stopped talking about, liberals and conservatives and Democrat and Republican, and look at it what it is. Really is. It's good versus evil. is what it comes down to. And this is an evil place. Really is. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. Yeah, I think we have to stop looking at things as, like I said, liberal, conservative, and start talking about what it really is. It's good versus evil. And I don't care what party you belong to or your political beliefs are. We have to start looking at good versus evil, because that's what it all comes down to. And this is evil. This is an evil place. That's really what it comes down. Let's start looking at it a little bit more. And I think you'll see, I don't really, at this point, I don't really care about what your party is or what your politics are. Are you a good person or are you an evil person? That's really what I care. And here's an evil person. This actually was driving me nuts yesterday, because from the minute I woke up, I could tell this person was a trans, and it took me 2 seconds to find out that they had a driver's license as a female. And I've spent a vast majority of my day going nuts because nowhere it said he was trans. And I was going on TikTok and X and everywhere, and I was screaming, why isn't anyone saying they're trans? And of course, what happened is, after I screamed everywhere around, 6 or 7 o'clock Eastern time, it finally came out that he was trans. And it came out big time. It was everywhere. And then, of course, suddenly everyone's screaming back at me. Of course, it's everywhere. Well, it was everywhere at 6 p.m. And of course, for the vast majority of the day, it was nowhere to be found. And now suddenly it's everywhere, and everyone's screaming back at me. It's everywhere. What are you talking about? Well, yeah, it was at 6 p.m., whatever it was. But where was it at 2 p.m.? So, yeah, it made me look like a fool at 6 and 7 p.m. But at 2 p.m., when it wasn't anywhere, I was screaming my head off. But anyway, they finally caught up with me. But it was obvious. Anyone who actually paid any attention could have told that. And I don't care if they were waiting for a confirmation. There's no reason. I took journalism. Okay, I know good journalism. I was taught by Professor Morrow at the Boston Globe, and the Globe was actually a respectable newspaper. A decent and good newspaper back then, not the rag it is now, with what's her name, Shirley Long. Oh, that woman makes the news. She's supposed to report on it, and she makes it. She's an activist as an editor, if she's still there. God, I hope she isn't. She probably is. Anyway, so yeah, I believe me, I understand that they could absolutely put it out there. Unconfirmed reports say that, he's trans. Unconfirmed reports, absolutely. You want to get the news out there and say they're looking for confirmation. There's no problem with doing that. But the license said female, and that was confirmed. I absolutely saw that immediately, almost when I woke up, and no one was reporting on it. They were hiding it, hoping it would go away, maybe. But so I knew that, and no one else reported on it. I was losing my mind. And then when they reported about it, it was all over the place. And then again, I felt like I was stupid because everyone's yet telling me to shut up. And it's like, well, they didn't 5 hours ago. Trust me. All right. Anyway, I don't really think the mother being hired at that school had anything to do with it. I just think he was an evil person and was decided to hurt children. It's about time we decided that these people are mentally challenged or evil. I just call it evil. The other thing I want to mention is that I do not like the way that AI is now covering things up. This is one of a couple of times that it was driving me crazy. Even a month or two ago, AI just spit back information. You asked for something, it gave it to you. I now notice that it's concealing information. I asked it for something about information on how many trans shooters there were, and it didn't give me the information. It starts dancing around. Well, we don't know exactly all the information about every single shooter. And I start asking it, no, how about if you just tell me, how many are, it starts playing around like, well, what's transgender anyway? How are we supposed to know? Well, how about if you tell us what are any kind of fluid sexuality? Well, that's kind of how are we supposed to know? Look on their license. Well, how was to know what their license? It started playing games with me. And then I start arguing, well, don't you think they should take you know, data on what their sexuality is, what gender they are. Well, I don't know. Well, then how are you supposed to identify them? Don't you think identifying prisoners are an important part of identifying them? Don't prisoners shouldn't prisoners know what they are? That kind of thing. So they're dancing around, and I'm chasing them around, and most of the time I can tie them down to some things. And what do you call a mass shooting? What do you call a public place? That's kind of thing. So I ended up just getting a rough idea. It sounds to me like there's certainly a tie to transgender and shootings, but the AIs are actually very, very well programmed at not giving straight answers. And it was just very frustrating. They hide behind words and definitions. So to find out actual numbers, you have to have the patience of a saint, and you got to be smart. And you got to actually make sure you don't play with words. It's really, really very frustrating. And if you want to, spend the time and argue, you can probably find the information. But this was like the third time today that I was wrestling with it, trying to get information. I didn't have the patience at this point. You'll find later on, I'll talk to you about another one that I was trying to fight on it, trying to get information. But it's a lot more difficult now than it was even a few months ago. Because a few months ago, I found out some stats and it wasn't this hard. So they're getting programmed to be very evasive. So they don't give you straight answers. They don't want you to know the truth. Anyway, continuing on. But this thing never should have been given guns. I mean, I don't own a gun right now. I'm more of a sword guy. I'm a sword collector. But I'm thinking about getting a gun because the world's just getting so crazy. I think people like me should own guns. People like this shouldn't. And the reason I don't own guns is not because of me. I'm just worried in case other people might get a hold of my gun. I don't trust other people. That's really what it comes down to. And I would have to make sure that I secure it, that I'm the only one. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I think I'm a very level-headed guy. I trust myself. I'm just wondering if I could secure it so that no one else gets hold of my gun. That's really why I don't own a gun. Okay. Now, this is another reason why I don't like AI. We know our Congressman Omar. So I was talking to AI, and I wanted some information regarding how many Somalians that Obama allowed in. And I just asked a simple question about how many Somalians did Obama let in. And it started to lecture me, saying, well, the numbers are too high, blah, 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 blah. And I didn't know where these numbers were coming from because I didn't ask anything. I just asked a question, how many Somalians did Obama let in? So I said to it, why are you lecturing me about numbers I never mentioned? I just asked a question. And you're giving me a paragraph about something that I know nothing about. I just asked a question. And it said, well, the numbers were not sincere. Or I said, what numbers? I didn't give you any numbers. I asked you a question. The question was, how many Somalians did Obama let in? I never gave you any figures or numbers. And it said, well, I thought you were going in that direction. And I said, I gave you no indication of any direction I was going into. I gave you a question. I expected a number. You gave me a lecture. And it said, oh, well, this is why. And it started explaining again. And I said, stop explaining to me. Can I have the number? And it still didn't give me a number. It gave me another paragraph. And I said, stop. Can I have a number of how many Somalians Obama allowed in the country? And no paragraph. It gave me a number and a paragraph. Again, I just took the number. I gave up at that point. And I asked how many Somalians, were in Minneapolis and how many stayed in Minneapolis. So I just wanted to know. And by the way, the answer was that I don't remember the actual number of Somalians that were there. But the bottom line was that the 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 population of Somalians in Minneapolis rose 57%, which is what I really wanted to know. So he more than doubled the Somalian population in Minneapolis, which allowed Congressman Omar to get elected. And she now is in charge of all Minneapolis and then some. I think it's the 5th district that she covered. And she ran as a Democrat. And and she got reelected. I think she got elected in 2018 or reelected in 22. She was actually, she actually lost popularity. I think she easily got elected in 2018, and I wouldn't say she squeaked by, but it was a lot closer in 2022. So those votes certainly mattered in 2022. They probably mattered in 2018 too, but not as much as they mattered in 2022. So the bottom line is, yeah, those Somalian votes mattered. But yeah, so the point I'm trying to get to is two things. Oh, there were 99% Muslim that came over. Now, a couple of things. Number one, why was it giving me a lecture? It was already defending against Obama, which I was not at the time attacking Obama. I've got a lot of things to attack Obama about, but I wasn't at the time. I was asking a question, and it already put on boxing gloves and was ready to protect Obama when I said nothing about Obama. So my thing is, why was it being so liberal when it was already defending Obama when I had said nothing about Obama? So that makes me wonder why it was so sensitive that I asked a fact and it was already protecting Obama. Tell me that was not liberally influenced. And number two, not lost on me, actually, was another thing, is that I don't know what they're telling. Well, I do know what they're telling. They're saying Muslims just want to be friends with us. That is a lie. I'm not trying to stir up hatred, by the way. I'm just telling facts. And it is a fact in the Quran. It says that Muslims want to kill all Christians. Now, that's not any kind of surprise to anyone, and certainly not in Nigeria, where every day Muslims are killing Christians, that's slaughtering them. That's not an exaggeration. My wife's Nigerian. I mean, every day we hear about it. So that's anyone. I mean, anyone's got internet access. They can look that up. That's absolutely not a lie. Muslims are killing Nigerians each and every day, slaughtering them. That's a fact. And they always have. And any myth, by the way, and it is a myth, that they've lived in peace before. Any peace that Muslims have, and by the way, that is something AI will tell you, that they've coexisted before. Any coexistence, and again, you can look this up, that they've ever had has only been when Muslims have been allowed to rule, and they treat Christians like dogs. Any of the medieval coexistence has always been with Muslims and very much in charge. And like I said, Christians are basically slaves. They call that coexistence. That's the only coexistence that's ever happened. And Muslims are more than happy to coexist in those circumstances. Again, you can look that up. They've never coexisted as equals and never will, because Muslims will not allow that. So that's just history. And if you want, you can, if you ever ask AIs that, you're going to have to hold their foot to the fire, because they will evade that. That's one of the ones you have to fight with them, because they will dance. You have to hold their foot to the fire on that one. You'll have to ask them to quote the Quran. That is not an easy thing to get them to admit. It used to be. It used to be until recently. About 2 months ago, they would admit that. But now they've been programmed liberally. So you really got to hold them down, make them quote the Quran. And if you do, they'll admit it, but that's not easy. But yeah, it's true. I'll always tell you the truth. I mean, even if I don't like it, I'll be honest and I'll tell you. You won't catch me lying. Anyway, let's move along. So that's our Congressman in Omar. So got some other things we can cover here. Oh, let's see. Oh, I think I covered this for the most part. Yeah, I'm just saying that there have been, this is talking about the mass shootings being tied to transgender. Yeah, this is just basically saying that they don't really, this is the nonsense I think that they were saying. This is just the paragraph, avoiding it. Yeah, it's no big deal. Alligator Alcatraz. Okay, here we go. This I just could not believe. We can file this one under evil as well. So we have the Alligator Alcatraz, and they're closing it up. Why? Because they're worried about the environment. This is evil. So this judge elected by Obama is going, they want to they're trying to hamper getting rid of these rapists and murderers and convicts. They're trying to make it hard to deport these convicts. And they'll go to any length they can to keep these killers, murderers, rapists in this country. And they're looking for any excuse they can. And they're worried about the environment. Really. This is disgusting. This is not going to do anything at all but delay and make people pay more money. It's not going to do any good. This is just to make things more difficult for everyone to get rid of these people. Now, I know it wasn't in America, but it shows the mentality of these killers. So, I think it was the Netherlands, maybe, or one of these asylum seekers was following a girl like 15 years old, and she took out her phone and went to report him. So he went and he murdered her. I mean, I know, like I said, I know it was the United States, but it was still an asylum seeker. These are the type of people that they're seeking asylum. They're convicts that they're wanted for countries, and they're just looking as a way to get away from prison. And they're going to places like us, like the Netherlands, like anywhere they can. And they're just murderers and killers and rapists. Why do you think they want to get out of their country? And this judge doesn't want to get rid of them. So anything they can do to keep them in this country, they'll do. And barely a day goes by you don't hear about one of these guys killing our people. Evil. This is what I mean. We can just forget about what their politics are. Just label this woman, this judge, evil. It's absolutely ridiculous. Why does she want to keep these people in our country? What is she benefiting? And who is the next person going to die? Every day goes by, you hear about someone being attacked by these people. What is she going to gain by having these people come in here and continue to commit these murders? Evil. Put this woman in the evil category. What is she going to gain from it? What is anyone going to gain from it? Okay, now this is interesting. Actually, let me just do something here. There we go. All right. This man was in Kazakhstan, I believe. The guy's in an airport in Kazakhstan. For those of you who don't know what happened. And apparently he went to this airport, and I guess he missed a train. I guess he was going home from work. It's a story. He went into an office because he missed a train, and he wanted to buy an airplane ticket. This is the story I'm getting. It sounds strange to me, but this is the story. I read it a few times to make sure I got it right. So he missed a train, and he wanted to get an airplane ticket. So he went into this office, and he asked if he could use the phone. So I guess they gave him a phone. He called his wife, And I guess he needed money for an airplane ticket. And he got in a terrible argument with his wife over the airplane ticket. I guess she wouldn't pay. He was very drunk, and I guess, and for some odd reason, he was carrying gasoline with him. Don't know why. But the wife was very abusive on the phone. So he hung up the phone and he poured the gasoline on himself and asked the person behind the desk if they would mind very much if they left, because he was going to set himself on fire. So the person, not being willing to be set on fire, decided that they were going to leave the office because they liked the way they were, I guess, and being in flames was not part of their agenda. So they left the office, and the guy set himself on fire and ran outside, where he was put out and taken to the hospital in critical condition. So that's the story. The guy was not able to get a plane ticket, which I'm not sure why he would need a plane ticket if he missed his train. His train must have been going very far away, but he couldn't get a plane ticket. And he was carrying gasoline, which is odd. And he set himself on fire because of it. Very strange story. So a couple of things. First of all, people are wondering how he got the gasoline through the airport security. Well, I think the gasoline was already there. I don't think you can, assuming this story, I'm assuming a lot because this story begs a lot of questions. The gasoline must have been there. If he wasn't in an airplane, in an airport, if he was in an airport, I'm going to assume he was in an airport. If he was in an airport, then I got to assume the gasoline was there. I can't believe he got the gasoline through security. So going with the story as it was given to me, I'm assuming the gasoline was there. Now, the story sounds really weird. I'm going to say that this story sounds really weird. I'm going to say this sounds like witchcraft to me. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I was attacked by witchcraft, and I did not go insane. I know how bad it was. I did see, I did see things. I saw a lot of things. I saw demons. I fought with demons. Witches attacked me. I saw all kinds of things. Were they really there? Were they not there? That is a difficult thing to say. For the most part, I would say they were not there. But that's the trick of evil. You never really know. I think it plays on you. It makes you doubt yourself. You never really know. And that's the evil of it. It's really hard to describe. It does question you. And again, I think that's what evil is. It makes you lose concept of what's real and not real. And that thus lies the true evil of it. And it's really hard to explain. You've got to be in the horror show of a demon attack to really understand the complexities of it. And that's why it's a really interesting thing to have survived it, to understand it. And that's why I look at something like this and I would not be at the least bit surprised that to this man, it might make sense what he's doing to him. It might actually make sense to him. And that's the crazy thing about witchcraft. It might to him actually make sense because he might be in an illusion of evil. And it's really hard to understand it unless you've actually been there. So yeah, I mean, it's a very strange thing. And I think this honestly, if he does recover, which I don't think he will, actually burn victims like this, they might last for months before they die, weeks or months. That's the thing. You think they might be dead within hours or minutes even. They could actually last for weeks. It's a horrible way to go. But yeah, I mean, the poor guy, for all you know, that actually could be Satan. That actually could be Satan doing that to him. And God help him if it is. But who knows? But when I do see things like that, or sometimes I've always said it. I wouldn't be surprised if you do go to an asylum. I bet a lot of those people might actually just be possessed or being driven insane by evil. It's. I was saved by the Holy Ghost, but there's a lot of people who maybe did not get that benefit and are probably just tortured souls. It's a terrible thing. Anyway, God bless him. Hopefully he does find peace. But or he could just be a lunatic. There's a possibility there too. Who knows? But anyway, let's go on. Now this is an interesting one. Very interesting. Let's see. I'm gonna just darken this a little bit. Did not come over all that clearly. Boom. Here we go. Now, interesting thing. We'll talk a little bit Bible here. Now, Moses, I think all of you pretty much know, Moses never made it to the Promised Land. And I was told when I was in Catholic school, I went to Catholic school pretty much all the way through college. And I was taught that Moses did not go to the Promised Land because he broke the 10 Commandments, which is not true technically. The reason why in the Bible he was not allowed to go into the Holy Land was because in Numbers 28-11, the Lord tells Moses the people, the Israelites, were starving, thirsty. And they asked, the Israelites, by the way, were very whiny people, I don't know if you read the Bible, but all the way through Leviticus and Deuteronomy Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers, they were whining quite a bit, saying, "Well, take us back to Egypt. We're better off than with your God and you. And we're hungry, we're tired, we're thirsty." They were whining all the way through it. Anyway, they were whining about being thirsty, and Moses was told to go to talk to a rock to spring forth water. And Moses went with Aaron, and instead of talking to the rock, he hit it with a stick twice. Now, this might be because previously Moses was, and I got it down here, I don't remember it. Oh, here it is, Exodus 17:6. In a previous chapter of Exodus, Moses was told to hit a rock with a stick and water poured forth. So I don't know whether Moses was a mithered soul. Do they use mithered in this country? It's an Irish expression. I don't know. They say mithered. It means, but basically annoyed or frustrated. I'm not sure whether Moses was mithered or what, but instead of talking to the rock, he hit it with a stick again, which was against God's wishes. And the water did come forth. And he gave the water to the Israelites, but it was disobedient to God, and Aaron was there. So because Moses didn't talk to the rock, but he whacked it a couple of times with a stick, God held Moses and Aaron accountable for being disobedient. And as a result, God took Aaron. He took Aaron in, where is it? Is it Numbers 20 to 22 to 29? Yeah, he took Aaron up to Mount Hor and killed Aaron. And told Aaron he won't go to the promised land, and he killed Aaron. And he told Moses that as a result of just being disobedient, that he can't ever go into the promised land. Now, I bring that up because there's no real explanation. And you kind of look and go, well, Moses did hit the stick on the rock back in Exodus to bring water forward. And yeah, he was told to talk to the rock, but Moses had really been put through an awful lot, and Aaron didn't even do anything. Aaron was just standing there, and I could see it was kind of an easy mistake. I mean, it was a rock, and maybe Moses didn't listen, and he did hit the rock before, so maybe he just got confused and hit the rock this time instead of talking to it. It does seem kind of harsh. I thought it was, but then thinking about it, there's no explanation. I'm beginning to think that it wasn't the rock at all. I think God was really angry about the golden calf thing. Because if we go back to the golden calf, and I mentioned this in my last podcast, I was thinking long and hard about this when I was reading the Bible again, going over this, and I reread it, this whole part about the commandments and the rock. And I think maybe my Catholic nun, Sister David, and if you're up there, Sister David, I know you got a lot of hard judgment by the kids back then, but I miss you, Sister David. I think you did a good job, and I'm going to tell you, I think you were right. I think it was the Ten Commandments. I think it was the whole thing. I don't think God actually was upset about the rock. I think that was an excuse. I think God never got over the thing with the Ten Commandments. I mean, I think the rock was the last straw, but I think God was angry because Aaron made the golden calf. I think that is why he killed Aaron. I think the rock was the last straw, but Aaron made the golden calf because Moses went up to get the Ten Commandments, and he got all the jewelry from the people, and they made the golden calf, and he told them to take off all their clothes and start dancing around naked, honoring a false god. And Yahweh came right out and said, I am a jealous God, and I will not tolerate false idols. And that was a reason to kill Aaron. And I think God could not look past that. And I think the rock was not that big a deal because Aaron just basically stood there and let Moses hit the rock with the rock with a stick. I don't think that's worth dying for, but I sure believe that golden calf was worth dying for. I think that was it. And as far as Moses, I think throwing down the Ten Commandments was worth missing out on Israel for. So, Sister David, I'm going to have to say, I'm going to go with you on this one. I think that hitting the rock with a stick was not as bad as smashing the word of the Lord on the ground and and something, I think Moses should have kept his brother better in line than let his brother. I think he shared in that as well. I think Moses should have kept his brother better in line than to have his brother make that golden calf, and smashing the word of the Lord on the ground like that was a horrible thing. I don't think it was a stick and the rock at all. I think the Lord ruminated on that whole thing and did not forgive them for the commandments. So, Sister David, I'm with you on this one. I don't think it was a stick in the rock. I think with the Ten Commandments. You guys can disagree or agree, but that's what I'm going to go with. Anyway, what else do I get? Is that it for tonight, or we got anything else? Oh, I guess that's it for today. Well, anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that. And I'll just say have a really great Thursday night, and I will talk again. Oh, like, share, and subscribe if you like it. I could use more listeners.